7 Ruthless Lessons That Make You Mentally Untouchable. Machiavelli. You've been taught all your life to be kind, to forgive, to stay humble even when people step on your soul. But what if I told you that this is exactly why you keep suffering? What if the reason you feel drained, misunderstood, and manipulated is because you never learned how to be mentally untouchable? Niccolo Machiavelli, one of the most feared and misunderstood minds in history, didn't teach cruelty for its own sake. He revealed the silent laws that govern human behavior, the unspoken rules of power that most people refuse to face. He understood one truth: the world does not reward purity, it rewards awareness, and awareness is often mistaken for ruthlessness. In this video, you're going to uncover 7 ruthless lessons that will harden your mind, sharpen your instincts, and make you impossible to break. Not because you'll become cold, but because you'll finally understand how fragile the illusions of others truly are. Every person who ever lost their peace did so because they played the wrong game. They fought emotions with logic, or logic with emotion. They believed people think like them, love like them, respect like them. But Machiavelli would whisper from the shadows, "Never assume others have your heart." The moment you expect fairness in a world ruled by fear and desire, you lose. The mentally untouchable understand this. They adapt, they calculate, they observe without being consumed. They master the art of being in control, even when chaos surrounds them. The truth you're about to hear may unsettle you, because it goes against everything society wants you to believe. It will ask you to abandon comfort for clarity, to choose awareness over innocence, to see manipulation not as evil, but as the natural language of survival. Machiavelli never demanded you become ruthless toward others. He demanded you stop being weak toward yourself. And that is the beginning of power. As you listen, remember this: emotional control is not a gift, it's a discipline. A mind trained to remain still when others panic, to stay silent when others beg for validation. The 7 lessons you're about to discover are not theories, they are weapons, each forged in the fire of history. Sharpened by the mistakes of those who trusted too easily, these lessons will not only help you see through people, but through yourself. The fears that hold you back, the attachments that enslave you, the expectations that destroy your peace. Before we begin, comment this phrase to seal your intention: I choose strength over sympathy. Because tonight, you will learn to stop seeking understanding and start commanding respect. Stay until the very end, because the last revelation will change the way you view human nature forever. This is not just a study of Machiavelli, it's an initiation into mental invincibility. Centuries ago, Florence was not the romantic city the world worships today. It was a battlefield of ambition, betrayal, and power. Behind every smile hid a dagger. Behind every alliance a secret plan. It was in this crucible that Niccolo Machiavelli was born. A mind sculpted not by comfort, but by chaos. He observed rulers rise and fall, not because of morality, but because of perception. It was not the kind who survived. It was the aware. In the Renaissance courts, mercy was a mask, kindness a weapon, and silence the most dangerous form of intelligence. Machiavelli, stripped of his power and tortured by the very leaders he once served, came to see humanity for what it truly was: a theater of hidden motives. And from that brutal clarity, he wrote The Prince, a book that dared to reveal the machinery behind power, stripped of illusions and hypocrisy. Philosophically, Machiavelli broke away from the moral idealism that dominated his age. Before him, power was seen as divine, a gift from God or fate. He shattered that illusion by declaring that power was a skill, one that could be learned, practiced, and mastered. He replaced divine justification with human observation. To him, a ruler's strength was not measured by virtue, but by adaptability, by the capacity to read the hearts of men and bend circumstances to his will. What terrified his contemporaries was not his cynicism, but his honesty. He said aloud what everyone practiced in secret. Psychologically, Machiavelli's teachings unveil a truth that modern minds still resist. People are predictable when you understand what they fear and what they desire. Every human being, from the peasant to the king, moves between those two poles. And when you grasp this, you stop reacting emotionally to people's behavior. You start seeing patterns instead of chaos. You begin to understand that betrayal, envy, and manipulation are not exceptions. They are the default mechanisms of survival in a competitive world. To expect loyalty from those who fear your strength is naive. To expect gratitude from those you help is dangerous. In modern terms, Machiavelli was not just a political strategist. He was an early psychologist of power. Long before Freud or Jung, he saw the shadow of humanity for what it was, the part of the self that acts for survival, even when it wears the mask of virtue. He understood that control begins not with others, but with the self, the ability to govern your impulses, conceal your intentions, and master your emotions. His legacy was not about domination. It was about awareness. And that is why Machiavelli remains timeless. In an age where people are enslaved by opinions, validation, and emotion, his philosophy offers a brutal form of liberation. He teaches that clarity is colder than comfort, but infinitely more powerful. What he offered was not cruelty, but the art of mental armor, a way to walk through the battlefield of life without losing yourself in it. To become mentally untouchable, you must first unlearn the illusions that made you fragile. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about cruelty. It was about seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Every one of his lessons is a mirror, showing you the places where your emotions still control you. The 7 ruthless lessons that follow are not commandments. They are awakenings. Each one strips away a layer of weakness until what remains is something no one can touch. A mind that no longer seeks approval, fears rejection, or depends on the understanding of others. Lesson 1. Never explain yourself. The weak crave to be understood. The powerful prefer to be misunderstood. Machiavelli observed that when you explain yourself too much, you give others the tools to dismantle you. Every justification, every clarification is a crack in your armor. The world doesn't need to understand your motives. It needs to feel your presence. Silence makes people project their own narratives onto you, and that is power. A man who explains himself loses mystery, and mystery is what breeds respect. Think of every great leader, every enigmatic figure you've ever admired. They rarely justify, they act. The truth is, when you speak less, you force others to think more. You become a mirror reflecting their own insecurity. To be mentally untouchable, you must learn to endure being misunderstood. Let people misjudge you. Let them build false stories. It costs them energy, and it builds your gravity. As Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel. Never waste your hand explaining what your silence already proves." Lesson 2. Control the frame, or be controlled. Reality is not what happens. It's how people interpret what happens. Machiavelli understood that perception is the real battlefield of power. To control the frame means to define what things mean. The one who defines meaning controls emotion. If you lose the frame, you lose the mind of the crowd. For example, when you face criticism, do not defend yourself. That gives your enemy power. Reframe the attack as proof of your impact. When you lose something, define it as redirection, not defeat. When someone betrays you, call it revelation, not tragedy. Control the narrative, and you control the damage. Psychologically, this is the essence of resilience. People suffer not because of events, but because of the meanings they attach to them. The mentally untouchable person doesn't allow the world to define the story. They become the narrator. Machiavelli knew this truth long before modern psychology did. Power is the ability to decide what is true for others. When you choose your own interpretation, you reclaim control over your emotions. Remember, no one can humiliate you without your cooperation. Lesson 3. Learn to be feared. not like Machiavelli's most controversial idea was this: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This does not mean cruelty. It means predictability. People respect those they cannot manipulate. Love alone breeds expectation. Fear sets boundaries. When people fear losing your respect, your time, your attention, they act carefully around you. When they only love you, they take liberties. Machiavelli saw how rulers who sought to please everyone were eventually destroyed by the very people they protected. In psychology, this principle mirrors emotional boundaries. When you become too accommodating, people unconsciously devalue you. Fear, in its purest form, is not terror. It is awareness of consequence. To be mentally untouchable, you must radiate the silent message: if you cross me, you lose access to me. That is the aura of power, not arrogance, not dominance, just certainty. And remember, those who need to be loved at all costs always end up paying the highest price. Lesson 4. Expect betrayal, and you'll never be broken. The naive believe loyalty is eternal. The wise know it is conditional. Machiavelli warned that people are loyal only as long as it serves their interest. When the weather changes, so does their devotion. To expect betrayal is not cynicism. It is preparation. The mentally untouchable are not shocked by disloyalty because they never assumed permanence in others. They understand that every alliance, friendship, or partnership has an expiration date in the game of survival. Emotionally, this mindset removes pain. You stop clinging to false promises, and you begin reading actions instead of words. Machiavelli's realism protects your peace. When you see betrayal coming, it loses its sting. This doesn't mean isolation. It means intelligent connection. You trust, but you verify. You love, but you detach. You care, but you don't depend. To be betrayed and still calm. That is mastery. Lesson 5. Master the art of indifference. Indifference is the most elegant form of power. Machiavelli believed that emotions should be instruments, not masters. When you stop reacting, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. The one who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. To remain calm when insulted, to smile when tested, to walk away when challenged. This is not weakness, it's strategy. The world worships reaction. It feeds on it. Every outburst, every emotional explosion is energy lost to someone else's game. In psychology, this is known as emotional regulation, the highest form of intelligence. It's not suppression, it's sovereignty. When you train yourself to delay reaction, you give your rational mind time to lead. Machiavelli saw this in politics. Rulers who reacted emotionally were destroyed by those who stayed still. Indifference makes you mysterious, and mystery makes you magnetic. When others seek chaos, be the stillness that unnerves them. That is how mental armor is forged. If you could master only one thing, to be loved or to be respected, what would you choose and why? Comment below. Lesson 6. Never reveal the full extent of your power. People destroy what they cannot control. Machiavelli's brilliance was his understanding of subtlety. The powerful rarely announce their strength. They let it leak through silence, timing, and restraint. When you reveal too much, you invite competition. When you hold back, you inspire curiosity. The more people wonder what you're capable of, the safer you are. In psychology, this mirrors the aura of potential. When others can't read you completely, they fill the gaps with their imagination, often overestimating your power. This illusion protects you. Machiavelli knew that power must remain partly invisible, because mystery multiplies influence. The moment you feel the need to prove yourself, you have already lost control. In a world obsessed with exposure, your discretion becomes divine. Be like the night, calm, vast, and unknowable. Lesson 7. Use distance. As discipline, attachment is the invisible chain that binds the strong to the weak. Machiavelli understood that distance, both emotional and physical, is not cruelty. It's control. The more you distance yourself from chaos, gossip, and emotional dependence, the clearer your perception becomes. The mentally untouchable practice withdrawal, not as punishment, but as purification. They know that solitude sharpens intuition, and silence amplifies authority. In the psychology of relationships, distance creates respect. When you step back, people are forced to face your absence, to reflect on your value. The needy chase, the powerful retreat. Machiavelli saw that every great ruler knew when to disappear, when to let absence do the speaking. Use distance to protect your peace. Use withdrawal to make your return significant. If you want to be mentally untouchable, master the rhythm of presence and absence. It's the music of power. Every one of these 7 lessons builds upon the same foundation: emotional sovereignty. To rule your mind is to rule your world. To stop seeking external validation is to awaken an internal empire. Machiavelli's true genius was not manipulation. It was mastery. He did not tell you to deceive others. He told you to stop deceiving yourself. You are not weak because you care. You are weak when you care without wisdom. Power is not the absence of feeling. It's the ability to feel without being broken. The first 7 lessons revealed how Machiavelli stripped human behavior down to its bones, exposing the emotional mechanisms that most people never dare to face. But beneath those lessons lies something deeper, something far more unsettling: the psychology of perception and survival. In this next part, we will descend further into Machiavelli's silent realm, where morality bends, where empathy and power collide, and where emotional strength becomes indistinguishable from detachment. This is the point where philosophy meets instinct, and where you begin to understand why mental untouchability is not coldness, but enlightenment disguised as shadow. Lesson 8. Never compete. Dominate. Quietly, Machiavelli knew that open competition is for amateurs. When you compete, you acknowledge equality. When you dominate silently, you dissolve comparison. Competing means you are still seeking recognition from others, still trapped in the game of validation. But true power operates beneath the surface, where your results speak louder than your presence. The mentally untouchable don't fight for a throne. They build one elsewhere. They understand that influence comes not from proving superiority, but from eliminating the need for proof entirely. Psychologically, this is detachment from external ranking. In a world obsessed with measuring success, the rare soul who refuses to play the game becomes impossible to control. Machiavelli would tell you, the lion does not debate with wolves, it simply walks away. Lesson 9. Use compassion strategically, not emotionally. Most people give kindness blindly, expecting reciprocity. Machiavelli understood that compassion, when given without strategy, becomes a liability. The powerful do not suppress compassion, they discipline it. They use it as a deliberate act, not a spontaneous weakness. To give without calculation is to invite manipulation. To give with awareness is to create balance. In modern psychology, this aligns with emotional intelligence. You don't harden your heart, you purify your intention. Compassion becomes a conscious choice, not a reflex born of guilt. The mentally untouchable know when to comfort and when to confront, when to extend a hand and when to withdraw it. True empathy must include wisdom, or it becomes self-destruction disguised as virtue. Lesson 10. Be the storm. They can't predict. Predictability kills influence. Machiavelli's rulers thrived not by being consistent, but by being unreadable. The predictable mind can be controlled because it reveals its patterns. The unpredictable one creates psychological tension, the space where others hesitate, doubt, and respect. In relationships, at work, even in conflict, the one who keeps others guessing holds power. Psychologically, unpredictability prevents mental entrapment. When others can't define you, they can't dismiss you. This doesn't mean chaos. It means rhythm without pattern. Calm one moment, decisive the next. Machiavelli would say, appear gentle, act fierce, retreat in peace. Your power lies not in what you show, but in what they can't foresee. Lesson 11. Suffer silently. Rise invisibly. Weak minds seek witnesses for their pain. Strong ones suffer in silence, not because they don't feel, but because they understand that vulnerability exposed too early invites exploitation. Machiavelli knew that public pain becomes a tool for others. The mentally untouchable use pain as transformation, not theater. They disappear when they are broken, and when they return, they are unrecognizable. In psychological terms, this is self-containment, the ability to process emotions internally until they become strength. Every breakdown is an initiation, every wound a private lesson. To suffer in silence is not suppression, it's alchemy. You turn hurt into wisdom without demanding the world's applause. Lesson 12. Disappear when they expect you. Most Machiavelli admired those who could vanish at the height of their influence. Disappearance confuses the masses and resets perception. It breaks dependency. When you step away at your peak, you create hunger in others' minds. People begin to mythologize what they can no longer touch. The mentally untouchable use absence as leverage. They know that constant visibility breeds boredom, and boredom kills respect. In modern psychology, this mirrors the principle of scarcity. What is rare becomes sacred. Your energy, time, and attention are currencies. The more you spend them, the less valuable they become. Learn to vanish, not out of fear, but out of precision. Let absence speak louder than your presence ever could. Lesson 13. Never seek revenge. Replace it with supremacy. Revenge consumes the reactive. Supremacy satisfies the wise. Machiavelli saw that revenge binds you to your enemy's narrative. You become what they made you. But when you rise above, improve, and dominate quietly, you rewrite the story. You no longer avenge the past. You erase it. The mentally untouchable never waste energy proving their pain. They transmute it into results. Psychologically, this is detachment from outcome. True power doesn't chase closure. It creates it internally. The moment you feel the urge to destroy someone, remember, the ultimate humiliation is watching you succeed in silence while they fade into irrelevance. Revenge is noise. Supremacy is art. Lesson 14. Choose isolation over contamination. Machiavelli wrote that he who becomes master of himself cannot be mastered by others. Isolation is often seen as loneliness, but for the strong, it is refinement. The mentally untouchable retreat not to escape the world, but to cleanse themselves from its noise. The crowd contaminates clarity. Solitude restores it. Every great strategist, artist, and philosopher understood this sacred rhythm. Withdraw to see, return to act. In psychology, solitude enhances metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking. You see patterns in your emotions, detach from social hypnosis, and reprogram your reactions. Machiavelli would call it retreating to your fortress. Your fortress is your inner discipline. No one enters unless they bring peace. Lesson 15. Hide your emotions. Reveal your vision. People connect through emotion, but they submit to vision. Machiavelli noticed that those who share emotions too freely become predictable, while those who share visions become leaders. The mentally untouchable never hide their humanity. They simply channel it towards something greater. Emotion fuels them privately. Purpose defines them publicly. Psychologically, this is emotional transmutation, converting vulnerability into direction. When you stop broadcasting your feelings, you conserve energy for creation. The world doesn't need to know your pain. It needs to see your precision. Machiavelli would whisper, "A leader who cries loses followers. A leader who builds becomes immortal." Comment this phrase if it resonates with you. My silence will become my strength. because that is the hidden truth Machiavelli wanted you to see. The most powerful force in the world is not noise, not attention, not domination, but control. Lesson 16. Control desire, and you control everyone. Every manipulation in history begins with desire. Machiavelli observed that the one who knows what others want controls their choices, but the one who controls his own desires controls the world. The mentally untouchable have mastered the rarest skill, the ability to delay gratification indefinitely. They use desire as a compass, not a master. They make emotion serve strategy, not sabotage it. In psychology, this is impulse regulation, the foundation of power, success, and influence. The man who cannot control his hunger will always serve the one who can. Machiavelli knew that kings fall not because of war, but because of temptation. You rise when you stop chasing pleasure and start cultivating presence. Lesson 17. Turn emotion into weaponized calm. Machiavelli understood that in every confrontation, the calmest person holds power. Emotional control disarms chaos. The one who doesn't react appears infinite. When people shout, whisper. When they pressure you, pause. When they expect panic, breathe. Calmness creates psychological gravity. It pulls others into your rhythm. Psychologically, this is state mastery. Your calmness rewires the nervous systems of those around you. It dictates tempo. You don't dominate by shouting. You dominate by remaining untouched. Machiavelli would remind you, the moment you stay still while others tremble, they have already lost. Lesson 18. Cultivate an aura of inevitable victory. The mentally untouchable do not hope. They assume. Machiavelli observed that those who expect to win transmit certainty. Their confidence infects others. This isn't arrogance, it's energy alignment. The moment you believe defeat is impossible, your behavior, tone, and micro-expressions all shift. People start to treat you as if you've already won. This is not delusion. It's the art of projection. In modern psychology, this is the placebo of power. The body follows the mind. The world bends to conviction. To embody inevitability is to control perception. Machiavelli saw that leaders who appeared unstoppable often became so simply because others stopped resisting them. Act as if it's already yours, and the universe will conspire to confirm it. Every one of these lessons reveals the paradox Machiavelli hid beneath his reputation. True ruthlessness is not cruelty, it's clarity. The more you detach from illusion, the more compassionate you become, because you stop expecting the impossible from people. You stop begging the world to be fair, and you start becoming whole. There comes a point when philosophy must leave the page and enter the pulse of your life. Knowing Machiavelli's laws of mental power is one thing. Living them, breathing them, embodying them silently every day is another. These lessons are not meant to make you cruel or detached, but to refine the way you move through the world. Mental untouchability is not a wall, it's an atmosphere. It's what happens when your emotions no longer rush ahead of your awareness, when you stop chasing people and start aligning with truth, when nothing external can disturb the inner empire you've built in silence. What follows are not theories, but practices, gentle, deliberate, and powerful. Each one is a mirror through which you can observe your instincts, discipline your reactions, and rise above the storm of daily life. They require no wealth, no audience, no external validation, only patience, reflection, and consistency. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does at last." These exercises are meant to train that wisdom, the stillness that acts swiftly because it no longer needs to think twice. Practice 1. The discipline of silence. Start your day with deliberate silence, not just external, but internal. Before touching your phone, before engaging with anyone, spend the first 10 minutes simply observing your mind. Let thoughts pass. Do not label. Do not chase. Machiavelli's world was built on noise, whispers, plots, deception. But he learned that the rarest kind of intelligence is the one that observes without reacting. When you train yourself to pause before speaking, you create a distance between thought and response. That distance is where power lives. This discipline sharpens perception. You begin to notice the tone in people's words, the subtle shifts in their posture, the emotions behind their silence. When you become silent, the world speaks louder, and you start to see what was once invisible. Do this daily, and soon you'll realize most of what you wanted to respond to never required a reaction. Practice 2. The ritual of reframing. Every evening, take one situation that disturbed your peace and rewrite it through Machiavelli's eyes. If someone insulted you, reframe it as a study in human weakness. If a plan failed, call it redirection, not defeat. Reframing transforms pain into perspective. It rewires the nervous system away from helplessness toward observation. Machiavelli believed that meaning shapes emotion more than events do. The one who defines meaning rules the world. By turning every negative experience into a lesson, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You become the author of your own story. The mind that reframes becomes undefeatable because nothing external can define it anymore. Practice 3. Emotional alchemy. When anger rises, do not suppress it. Observe it. Close your eyes and feel the heat in your body, as if watching a storm from a high mountain. Then ask, what fear hides beneath this emotion? Every strong reaction has a hidden cause. Fear of disrespect, fear of loss, fear of being unseen. When you expose the root, the emotion dissolves. This is Machiavellian mastery applied inwardly. You do not react to anger, you study it. You do not express pain, you refine it. Over time, this awareness turns your emotions into energy you can direct with intention. The mentally untouchable are not numb. They are alchemists. They turn chaos into clarity and fire into focus. Practice 4. The power of withdrawal. When you feel the need to prove yourself, to explain, or to be understood, withdraw. Step back. In that pause, you reclaim energy that would have been wasted on justification. Machiavelli taught that retreat is not weakness, it's preparation. When you withdraw, you regain perspective. You realize how often we speak just to fill silence, act just to feel in control, or chase validation to escape our own insecurity. Make withdrawal your weapon. When chaos arises, disappear. Not physically, but mentally. Detach from the drama of the moment. Watch it like a play. Every retreat deepens your inner sovereignty. You'll find that the less you say, the more they remember your silence. Practice. 5. Observation without judgment. Once a day. Practice watching people without labeling them. Notice their tone, gestures, micro-expressions. Notice how easily they reveal what they think they're hiding. Machiavelli built his genius on this art. He listened more than he spoke, and in that listening, he ruled. This exercise strengthens your intuition. It trains you to perceive motives instead of words. You begin to see that people don't act logically, they act emotionally, then justify it afterward. The more you see this, the less offended you become by human behavior. You stop taking things personally because you understand that most of what others do is just projection. That is mental armor. Practice 6. The art of delayed reaction. In every conversation, in every conflict, delay your reaction by 3 seconds. It sounds simple, but it's transformative. That small pause gives your rational mind time to breathe before emotion takes over. Machiavelli called this governing the moment. The weak react, the strong respond. The delay becomes a shield. People reveal their intentions in those seconds, and you remain calm enough to read them. Psychologically, this develops emotional regulation. Spiritually, it awakens awareness. And socially, it makes you appear composed, centered, and in control. Because you are. Those 3 seconds separate the impulsive from the powerful. The practice 7. The ritual of strategic kindness. Kindness, when given consciously, multiplies power. But kindness given emotionally depletes it. Once a day, perform a generous act. Not to be seen, not to be thanked, but to test your ability to act without attachment. Machiavelli taught that true strength is not the absence of compassion, but the mastery of it. Give, but without expectation. Help, but without craving recognition. This practice detaches your worth from response. It teaches the mind that goodness is self-contained, not dependent on gratitude. You'll notice that your peace no longer fluctuates based on how others treat you. And that's when you become untouchable. Practice 8. The fortress. Within every night before sleep, visualize your mind as a fortress. Solid, silent, ancient. Its walls are your self-control. Its gates, your boundaries. Inside it burns a single flame. Your awareness. This visualization, if practiced daily, rewires your subconscious to protect peace as its highest priority. Machiavelli warned princes to guard their cities not with armies, but with loyalty. The same applies to the mind. When your inner fortress is strong, no attack, insult, or manipulation can penetrate it. You become sovereign, not by isolation, but by internal order. Build your fortress slowly. Each moment of self-restraint is another stone. Practice 9. The discipline of selective presence. Be intentional about where you place your energy. Machiavelli understood that presence is a weapon. Where you show up, who you engage with, and when you appear all shape perception. Apply this daily. Choose where you invest attention. Don't argue in noise. Speak in silence. Don't rush into every conflict. Make your words rare enough to be remembered. Presence loses value when overexposed. The mentally untouchable treat their attention like currency. Spent wisely, never wasted. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be unforgettable where it matters. Practice 10. The mirror of detachment. Every week, ask yourself, what do I still depend on for peace? Then practice going without it for a day. It could be validation, comfort, entertainment, or the need to explain yourself. Detachment is not rejection. It's refinement. It trains your mind to draw energy from within, not from applause or agreement. Machiavelli's detachment made him unbreakable. When exiled and humiliated, he wrote The Prince. When others sought revenge, he wrote Wisdom. Your strength is tested not when things go your way, but when they don't. If you can stay calm when stripped of comfort, you have already won. The true application of Machiavelli's teachings is not in conquering others, but in mastering yourself so deeply that no one's chaos can disturb your inner order. Power, as he defined it, is not force, it's alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move as one, you become like water, shapeless, silent, unstoppable. Now, take one breath, feel it. This is where the practice begins. Not tomorrow, not in some grand plan, but in the small decisions that no one sees. In the moment you choose silence instead of reaction, distance instead of drama, clarity instead of noise. That's how the mind becomes untouchable. There is a kind of power that makes no noise. It does not dominate rooms. It does not beg for attention. It does not sparkle on the surface. It moves like shadow, like the calm under a storm. Unbothered, invisible, absolute. That is the kind of power Machiavelli understood, not the kind that destroys others, but the kind that cannot be destroyed. You do not reach it by reading or pretending. You reach it by unlearning. Unlearning the need to be liked, the reflex to explain, the addiction to control what others think. Mental untouchability begins when you no longer fear misunderstanding, when you can walk through judgment without defending yourself, through loss without collapsing, through silence without craving noise. Look at the world around you. People tremble at every opinion, panic at every change, drown in every rejection. But you are learning to stand still. You are learning to let storms pass through you without moving your center. That is the Machiavellian secret hidden beneath the centuries of misinterpretation. Power is not manipulation. It is self-governance. It is ruling the inner kingdom with discipline, while the world loses itself in distraction. The rulers Machiavelli studied were mirrors of human nature. Fragile when flattered, blind when loved, weak when angry. You, however, have chosen awareness. You are building a different empire. One built on calmness, not conquest, on lucidity, not applause. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, the world called him ruthless because he dared to describe life without illusions. But in truth, he was a realist of the soul. He saw that those who avoid darkness never find the light that survives it. To be mentally untouchable is to embrace both. To accept that within you lives a saint and a strategist, a heart and a sword. You are not asked to suppress one for the other, but to make them dance in harmony. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, what truly disturbs me? Whose opinion has the power to poison my peace? Why do I need to explain my worth to those who cannot see it? These questions are the gate to freedom. Every time you answer them honestly, you cut one invisible chain. Machiavelli would remind you, the one who can't rule himself will always be ruled by others, and self-rule begins in silence. There will be moments when your strength is mistaken for arrogance, your silence for weakness, your calm for coldness. Let it be. The powerful are always misunderstood by the fragile. Your purpose is not to convince them. It is to remain centered as they unravel. A mind that needs to be seen has not yet understood its own radiance. Be content in your invisibility. True power does not broadcast. It emanates. In the modern world, everyone is shouting. Everyone wants to be right, to be heard, to be adored. But the loudest are rarely the strongest. Machiavelli's eternal lesson is this: what is loud will fade. What is quiet will endure. The mentally untouchable understand this law. They move with intention, speak with precision, and act without seeking approval. Their calm becomes contagious. Their restraint becomes magnetic. People feel something around them they cannot explain. A gravity, a quiet authority, a peace that commands respect without asking for it. You must understand, being mentally untouchable doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means becoming anchored. Emotions still move through you, but they no longer own you. You can feel anger without being controlled by it, love without being blinded by it, pain without being shattered by it. You can stand in the middle of chaos and remain whole. And when you reach that state, life begins to bend toward you instead of against you. You stop chasing, and things start gravitating toward your stillness. The philosophers who came after Machiavelli, from Nietzsche to Jung, all echoed the same truth in different languages. The world belongs to the one who is no longer afraid to see it clearly. Fear clouds perception. Clarity commands destiny. To see clearly means to accept both the light and the shadow in yourself. Your hunger, your weakness, your ego, your kindness, and to make peace with them. Only then do you become dangerous in the most divine sense of the word. So now, the question is no longer, how can I be respected? Or, how can I be strong? The real question is, can I be silent in the face of noise? Can I be kind without being used? Can I remain detached while still caring deeply? These are the tests that separate the untouchable from the ordinary. From this moment, let this be your creed. Speak little, observe much, move slowly, decide precisely. Give rarely, but give completely. Detach with grace. And when others seek chaos, be the calm they cannot understand. Because that is how you rise. Not by fighting every battle, not by explaining every move, not by demanding recognition, but by mastering the only battlefield that matters: your mind. Machiavelli's true wisdom was never about ruling others. It was about learning how not to be ruled by yourself. Once you realize that, no insult can reach you, no failure can define you, and no person can unbalance you. You become the quiet storm, the one who does not chase, does not beg, does not crumble. You see through manipulation, through fear, through every illusion that keeps people small. And from that awareness comes the rarest kind of peace. The peace of knowing that nothing external can make or break you anymore. Before you leave, write this in the comments. It will be your silent promise to yourself. I am no longer moved by noise. My calm is my crown. Because from this moment forward, you are not just surviving the world. You are mastering it. Quietly, completely, ruthlessly.